Okay, we're continuing the positive movement at Manchester United, and today we're going to be talking about our latest signing in Diego Leon. Now, I have to be completely honest. I don't know much about Diego Leon. I'm pretty sure you don't know much about Diego Leon. But from the stuff that I have looked up, from the videos I have watched, I can't react to them on the channel just yet because I'm not my usual setup. But from the videos I have watched, from the stuff I have read, and from the numbers I have looked from Diego Leon, I've got five things to go over to better understand this player that we don't know much of and how he's going to be integrated into our club. Now, the first thing is going to be going over the simple fact that Manchester United have needed a left back for a long time. That is the number one most important point, and the first thing I need to go over, and the first thing I need to cover. The simple fact that Luke Shaw and Malacia over the last 3 years have been injured for a very long time. I feel like just individually, they've been off for at least 18 months each. They've been off for 18 months each over the last 3 years. And that's just not good. That's not good for the competition on the left back position. That's not good for tactical evolution. That's just not good for our team in any way, shape, or form. Having left backs that are not there consistently is not good enough. And not only does it impact our left hand side and the way we want to play, but it also impacts our right hand side that has a lot of potential because Diogo Dalot has had to fill in that position a lot of times, and we all know that Diogo Dalot plays a lot better from the right. That's where he feels most comfortable. That's where he plays his best football. And then you also have Mazraoui. We've got two quality Premier League right backs in Mazraoui and Dalot, who, if they were to play the same position and to fight for that spot, we would get the best out of each of them. But because Diogo Dalot has to constantly play on the left, you're left in a position where if Mazraoui or Dalot go down, we're screwed. So addressing that position was definitely one of the priorities before the summer. That's point number one. Point number two is the simple fact that, this helps that 3-4-3 tactic that Ruben Amorim seems to really like. When you're playing a 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, it doesn't matter. When you have three centre backs, three defenders, your fullbacks need to be very energetic. The fullbacks are arguably the most important position in this setup. It's not like a four defensive setup, in a four defensive setup, where the fullbacks can kind of hide like they used to back in the day. It doesn't really happen as much anymore because you have the evolution of Jurgen Klopp, of Pep Guardiola, for example, who've really maximized what fullbacks can really do. And then when you go into a 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, the fullbacks become even more important because they are crucial in providing width going forward, and they are crucial in providing that defensive solidity when the other team is attacking. So that 3-4, so when you're playing in a 3-4-3, that position is absolutely crucial. And again, very important for us to get that done, to get that over the line as quickly as possible, which, to be fair, to give the club their flowers, they've been able to do. Point number three, signing Diego Leon is on track with what Ineos have been telling us about their progression, about what they want to do with the club going forward. The simple fact that he's a young player, we're looking for young developing players that we can maximize the talent of for two main reasons. One, I believe it is the way to go. You just need to look around the how do you say? You just have to look around the team sports world to understand it. You look at Formula One. You've got two young drivers in Piastri and Lando Norris dominating the World Championship. You look at basketball. You've got OKC, one of the youngest teams of all time, winning the NBA Championship. And these teams, and in McLaren and OKC, because they're young, they are still able to compete. They're going to be able to build a dynasty with these guys. With Manchester United, forget dynasties. If we just want to get back to winning ways, and if we want to sustain that, you need young players to do that. So going after Diego Leon is on track with Ineos' vision of what they want to do with the club. So I definitely support that. And in that same note, point number 4 comes into play, and it's the simple fact that our South American scouting network continues to grow. It's going to be very interesting to see how good Diego Leon is and how he develops, and what are some of the other players we go out and sign from South America. But the simple fact that we're looking outside of Europe and not just looking for the biggest names just shows that our scouting network is working, and the philosophy, the ethos around the club has really changed, and I appreciate that. Diego Leon is a player that's going to be able to come into the club with not a lot of pressure, which is already a bonus for him and for us. He's not going to have a lot of pressure. He's going to be able to build into what he's already done. He's going to be able to develop into the player that, we ultimately will need. So for that, I'm also very happy. Our scouting network is working very well. And my final point when talking about Diego Leon is that he also provides very good competition for Harry Amas. We've got Harry Amas, another player who's been developing through our academy. So you've got kind of the two very interesting cases here. You've got a player coming through the academy and one player from a successful scouting mission, who are going to be able to fight for that position. This is what Manchester United is all about. This is that United DNA. You think of the likes of David Beckham and Gary Neville coming through the club, and Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, all these guys coming through the clubs. You look at the young signings of Ronaldo, of Rooney. Ferdinand wasn't as young, but still you'll be able to bring in Ferdinand, and then he was able to blossom into one of the best centre backs in the world. Signing young players and developing them, and bringing young players through the ranks. This is what Manchester United is all about. It's that DNA, is what Jose Mourinho was talking about, that football heritage that we need to continue. And it's not just our DNA because it's just something cool to say. It's our DNA because it works, because this is something that winning teams do. You build with young players. If you're able to develop, when you're able to develop them and take them to world-class standards, then you're in for a killing. You're in for years of domination, and this is exactly what we want at Manchester United. But anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching the video to the end. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, share, do all these things to please help me grow this channel. And as per usual, I'll see you soon.